Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and today I'm very excited to be introducing our new series, How to Play the Colle. At least this is from the white perspective. I will teach you guys how to, the strategies for black in these games too, but this is mostly going to be a pro for how to be playing the white side of the Colle. With that being said, our first game is going to be played by Colle himself against, hope I pronounced this correctly. If not, you can correct me in the comments, Devalks. Well, this is going to show a good game about how to play the Colle, how it's very sturdy in the opening. It's very hard to beat it in the opening. White will typically get an equal game, and then a lot of times we even get a very nice kingside attack, as we will see in this game. We even get to see a double X-slam in this game too. So, here we go, guys. We're going to go ahead and start off with d4 over here, the way we start off our Colle. Black plays pawn to d5, a very sturdy way to defend. Knight to f3. A lot of times in these openings, which I like to call the TLCs, the Torre, London, and the Colle, we're going to go ahead and try to control this e5 square as much as possible. And you can see this already with the pawn and the knight coming over here to control this square right here. Black goes ahead and continues. Knight to f6, and here we go. Pawn to e3, we are now in the Colle system. So one of the main things to note when you do play the Colle is that the bishop is going to go ahead and stay here on c1. And we're going to make this little pawn structure of f2, e3, d4, and c3. Like I said, this is such a sturdy way to play that a lot of times black cannot create very good counterplay against this. Again, white typically gets out the opening at least equal, and that's why it's played by a lot of strong players that do not want to learn theory or are too lazy to want to do it, right? They just know I can play this and I'm going to get a very good game. Especially with that being said, a lot of players from black side, I would say about I'll say 1800 and up, start to really understand and take advantage of the small minuses of the Colle. So everybody below that, I would say, has a hard time in this. That's why it's a very good opening to know. And here, black goes ahead and plays pawn to e6, another good move over here. And white plays it bishop to d3. Now, you can play the pawn to c3 here. Just know bishop d3 is where the bishop belongs, is where the bishop typically goes and belongs here. Now, you might be asking, why does it go to d3? It's a very good question. On d3, we're getting ready to attack on h7. h7 is the weak point. And you're probably saying, what do you mean h7? It's defended quite a bit. It is defended quite a bit now, but just remember, whenever your opponent's castling king side, that h7 is going to be the weakness. And you can see here that the bishop is already aimed toward it. So this is already a move that looks to attack over here on the king. And also the other thing I want to say about this move, it's going to help prepare pawn to e4. Now we don't play e4, e5 right away because there's a lot of theory. You know, black is trying to achieve equality, blah, blah, blah. It's very difficult, right? But we do want to play e4 at some point in these lines because we want to let the bishop out. This bishop is trapped behind the pawn chain, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are saying, hey, this is not very good. Well, let's go ahead and continue. Black went ahead and played pawn c5 here. A very good move. In fact, what my saying is, at least whenever you're playing against d4, the faster you can get c5 to try and trade on d4, the faster you're going to get equality as black. And this is one of black's main strategies. The other big thing to know about this move is black is actually threatening pawn to c4. Now, it's funny. I'm going to be saying pawn c4 later on is a very bad move, but here is one of the particular times or few times that c4 is good. Why is it good? If white was not paying attention, let's just say goes ahead and castles, now black can play c4, and this is actually a decent move because you see the bishop cannot stay on this diagonal, and as I said before, the bishop is very well placed here, so the bishop has to go to e2. And yep, black is going to be very happy in these kind of setups. So going back to the game, anytime they play c5, you should know you should automatically play pawn to c3. This allows your bishop to retreat to the c2 square. All right, here we go. Black goes ahead and plays knight to c6. And now white plays knight b to d2. Again, a very common move in this opening. The knight needs to get developed. And, well, where else are you going to put it? Knight a3 doesn't really make sense. Knight d2 gets ready to double up. And there's lots of plans, which we will go in particular, about playing the knight to e5. It doesn't get played in this game, but it's a very nice hallmark kind of move. Here, black goes ahead and plays bishop to e7. Again, not the move I would suggest here for black. If you are playing the black, I would go ahead and play bishop d6. As I said earlier, remember, e5 is one of those squares that you're trying to control. So if you can get e5 in these games, you're typically going to be equal, if not better. All right, back to the game. Bishop to e7 got played. And what do we do now? Simple chess. Let's just go ahead and castle. And here, black makes that mistake. He plays pawn to c4. You can see already here, the computer does not like it. In fact, with this one move upon to c4, if you look on the side, you see it says white has a 0.8 advantage, meaning white is almost up an extra pawn. Go back one move, the game is equal. Pawn c4, giving them an extra pawn. Why is this so? Well, whenever you play chess, there's 3 sections in the game, right? Or 3 sectors. Here we have the king side, we have the center, and we have the queen side. Okay, so what does c4 have to do with this? Well, just know when you're playing black, black is typically going queen side and for the center. Mostly the center is always being attacked. And white is going to go for king side attack, so center and king side. So why does it matter? Well, whenever you're going for a king side attack, by the way, if going queen side versus king side's usually best, because if you usually win on the king side, you typically win the king, which means you win the game. What happens when you win on the queen side? You might win a pawn, you might win a piece. Either way, the game is not over. It still takes time to convert to a winning position. So with the pawn going to c4 right here, the reason why this is bad is because white's going for a king side attack, white wants to keep the center closed, meaning no counterplay can be made. I can concentrate over on the king side without having to worry about black breaking through on the queen side or in the center. So that's why one of the best moves to play in a lot of these is going to be c takes on d4. Now, don't play it just yet. C takes d4 as is actually a bad move right here. After c takes, the correct way to take back is e takes. Remember, keep the king side closed. And the reason why this is strategically bad for black here too is because it opens up the bishop. So going back to the game, the reason why c4 is bad is because it closes the queen side and it also closes the center. Now, will black win on the queen side? Most assuredly. Black has a very good majority here. The bad part, if white wins on the king side, and if they're a good player, they're going to get checkmate or win pieces. All right, so pawn c4 got played. Where do you play the bishop to? Simple chess, we're going to c2 right here. We don't want to get in the way of this rook. And here, black played pawn to b5. Black is very consistent. In fact, you know, if you're playing this game and you're not making consistent threats with white, you will get into trouble with this. Because black, like I said, will break through on the queen side. The theoretical idea for black is b5, a5, and b4. You see how the pawn chain goes together, and they're trying to convert to b4 here, over here. So white must be very, very accurate at this point in the game. It's white to move. What is your best move? I'll give you a hint. The king is in the center. And to attack your opponent's king, you must open up files or diagonals. All right, hopefully you're looking for that move. With that being said, if you haven't already, go and give us that like and subscribe. Remember, giving us a like will help spread this video to other chess players. All right, did you find the move here? There is no great sacrifice here. This is just good chess. What do you play? Pawn to e4, of course. Here we have threats of playing pawn takes on d5 or even pawn to e5. Remember, it's not going to be useful to you if you don't attack your opponent. We're supposed to be going to do this right now. And because black's king is in the center, opening up the center is definitely a good idea. In fact, this is such a strong idea. Black really had no choice. They went ahead and took here on e4. Let's just say black wasn't paying attention to play something like a5. You have 2 good moves here. You can look about playing pawn to e5 or maybe e takes on d5 here. In fact, I think I like e5 here the most. Although it does close up the position, look at this beautiful pawn chain. And after the 9 moves, we have a good advantage. We just control everything on the king side, so we can still go for our king side attack. And, you know, the queen side will fall, but definitely the king side will fall. I prefer white in this position. All right, going back to the game. Black just went ahead and took. Knight takes. Castles. And here we go. It's white to move. White gets to develop with a nice threatening move. White plays queen to e2. All right, well, queen to e2 gets played. And at this point, it really is up to black to find a way to defend in this kind of position. What is white's threat here? Here, there's a knight unprotected, and h7 is a weakness. If you're not paying attention, you play something like a6. Uh-oh, it's white to move and win. What do you play? I hope you push pause and try to figure this one out, because this is a very nice common threat here. All right, a6 gets played. And here, what does white play? White gets to play the very nice knight takes on f6. Doesn't matter which way you take back. Queen to e4 for a nice double attack for checkmate. And on c6 right here. Okay, so let's go back to the game. Black saw this threat and went ahead and played bishop to b7. All right, well, bishop to b7 got played. And here, now, white's going to keep looking to make attacks. Remember, a very strong chess player is going to create weaknesses, meaning your opponent, if they're a good player, they won't create weaknesses. So you need to help them create weaknesses by making threats. Now, a lot of these threats are not going to be threats that are unstoppable. In fact, they very much are stoppable. But they're going to have to move pawns to go ahead and mess up the pawn structure. So, in this position right here, what did white play? Knight f to g5. And believe it or not, this is threatening to win the game yet again. If black's not paying attention, and I don't know, let's just say they play something like a6, now it's white to move and win. What do you play? Here you get to play knight takes on f6 check, bishop takes on h6 on f6, bishop takes on h7 check, king to h8, and here queen to h5, and it's game over here. At this point, black has nothing better than to give away the queen. Bishop takes g5, bishop takes g5, and if the queen moves anywhere, then we're going to have bishop g6 for checkmate. So, yeah, at this point, black must just give away the queen. But in the game, as I said, they did see the idea, so they played h6. Oh my gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces ready to attack, and black must defend against this. And h6, although it looks like a good move, is not going to be the best because, again, white plays the best move here, and they're going to keep provoking or making these pawns move forward to make threats. Here we go. Knight takes on f6 check, bishop takes on f6, and here we go, queen to e4. What's the idea here? Very simple. White is threatening queen to h7, check and mate. This is a very hard move for many people to find because, well, it just kind of looks like it's not doing too much. Black can just play g6. In fact, g6 is the only move that they can play. With that being said, it is now white to move and get the double exclam of the game. Can you find it? White to move and win. What do you play? All these pawns are moving forward here. All right, white to move. What did you play? The move here is knight takes on e6. Uh-oh. After knight takes on f7 over here, if you did think about this, rook takes, queen takes on g6, and the rook comes over to g7. And unfortunately, black is actually the one winning here. Oof, look at all these threats versus g2. So, the right move here was to go ahead and play. Knight takes on e6, pawn takes. Here, what do we play? Oops. We're going to go ahead and take on g6 check. Here, bishop g7 gets played, and again, white must find the correct way forward. Let's see here. I'll ask you the question. Should you play queen h7 check here? Bishop takes on h6, or rook to e1 to bring in reinforcements? All right, rook e1, although a decent move, is a little too slow here. Here, black is more than happy to play queen f6 here, and you can do some checks here, but it's not going to be enough here. Black has maintained equality. All right, next move here. Bishop takes on h6. Unfortunately, bishop takes on h6 looks like a good move, but is again not the best. Here, black can play something like queen f6. Of course, you don't want to trade queens here, so queen h7 check, king f7, and here bishop takes, queen takes, and queen h5 check. Here, black is pretty much happy just because, well, the king is really not that safe. The queen over here is going to get a good check, but the king is going to be able to run to e7. Does white still have chances? Of course. But here, as we'll see in the game, the best move to play was queen to h7 check. Because black king must go to f7, bishop to g6 check, and now black realizes that they have to go to f6. After f6 right here, bishop to h5 gets played. What's the idea? Well, after bishop h5, the idea is queen to g6 check. The king cannot run over to e7 as queen takes on g7 gets played. Okay, so after this, black went ahead and played knight e7, a good move. This covers the queen to g6 idea. And here, white plays bishop takes on h6, winning the pawn at the right time. Here we win a pawn and are already threatening to win more material. This king is just lost. As you can see right here on the side, it says white is +7, almost up an extra queen. Oof, all it takes is a few mistakes and black is just going to be losing. Rook to g8 gets played. And here, let's continue the attack. The idea here is if you can control g5, bishop to g5 would be checkmate. So here, white to move, what do you play? Here, white went ahead and played pawn to h4, threatening bishop to g5 for check and mate. So at this point, well, there really is no good move to play here. Black just went ahead and played bishop takes on h6. And here, a lot of people miss it and take the bishop. But here, it is actually queen to f7 for check and mate. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this. This video was about the Colle system. We went over the very basic idea of getting the correct pawn structure and where the light square bishop goes to. It's going to attack on h7. And just remember, the bishop will retreat to c2, and black, remember, try to play a bishop to d6 to control e5, and try not to play pawn to c4 unless the bishop cannot move back to c2. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video.